welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome. My name is Maddie, and today I will be doing another Fruba Friday. So for this week, we're going to be watching a video that compares the dub from the 2001 anime and the dub from the reboot, since the dub for both adaptations has the same cast or same cast for the most part, where some of the old cast didn't return for the reboot, but most of them did. And my good friend 𝑤𝑖𝑙𝑙 put together this video comparing the original dub to the reboot, and I've been so excited to watch it, but I wanted to react to it on video because I think it'd make for a very interesting discussion. As I was rewatching the dub while I was reacting to it on my channel, I did notice how different the voice actors sounded in the original and how much they've grown based off of how their voice acting is in the reboot. But I've never heard them side by side before in a comparison, so I'm so down for this. So why don't we just get started and watch this video, and let's compare and contrast. It's like we're in school again. It's like we're in English class again, which English class was always my favorite class. So I'm pumped for this. It's like going back to school again. Okay, so we're starting with Toru.
Oh, it's dangerous. We have to go back. We have to go back now. It's not safe here.
Here, I'll go full screen for
What
us.
should we do? Shigure said he was vicious. We have to go right now.
Wow, she does sound different.
Oh, that sounds yummy. I guess they were only trying to tease me a little bit, the way kids do sometimes. But I didn't know that. He was probably trying to be mean to me.
Why does her voice sound so much more airy in the reboot?
Baseball.
Like, just so much more light.
I'm so sorry. I was just looking. I didn't mean to barge in without permission. Good morning, sir. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have been looking around.
But yet still sounds the same as at the same time. I feel like this is going to be what I'm going to be saying for a lot of these, because for so many of the voice actors from the dub, they sound the same in the reboot, but there's just something different about it that I cannot explain what it is. The only way I can explain it is that they sound the same, but their deliveries are so much better. And in the case with Toru, I think she speaks a lot more clearer, and like I said, her voice sounds a lot more light and airy. I feel like in the original, she didn't put as much emotion into her lines as she does now, and I think the original adaptation was either her first voice acting gig or one of her first attempts at voice acting, so it would make sense that her voice wasn't fully developed back then as it is now, but there is clearly a difference and she has grown a lot. I like her new voice. I love how light it sounds. It is so Toru. And she's really delivered her lines a lot better than in the original. So this one I'm really excited to hear because my favorite character and I think my favorite dub voice actor, so let's do it.
You know, you can tell people what you want. I mean, it's annoying if you do it all the time, but I'd say in your case, you could stand to speak up for yourself a little more. Being selfish sometimes. It's no big deal.
Ooh, that sounds so different, but yet so the same.
Like
it's so weird.
Selfish every single day. But that isn't the way you are. Who says I forgot? Maybe I didn't want to call you. Why should I have to worry about telling you where I am? Who do you think
It's
you
so
are?
weird.
Between me and him, it's got nothing to do with you. You stupid little girl. Will you shut up already? This isn't any of your business. What's your deal?
Again,
anyway?
just the delivery of the lines is so much better. I freaking love it. Like, I feel like in the original, and I think this is gonna go for a lot of the voices, they still had emotion behind what they were saying, but their emotion just translates so much better in the reboot. I guess what I would say is that I think they understand the characters more now since they have been voicing them for so long. They've known the story forever, that I think they're able to deliver their lines so much better in the reboot because they have a full understanding of their characters. And that's probably why the lines are just being delivered so much better and have so much more emotion behind it. It's the same case with Jerry Joel as it is with Laura Bailey. I think his voice has the same tone, of course, but there's just a lot more confidence in their voices. Their lines are delivered pretty flawlessly, and there's just so much more emotion backing up their voices that the original dub just doesn't have. And since it's been almost 20 years since the original dub came out, which is incredible. I think it's been 19 years. That's a long time to have passed. So of course they're going to hone in their voices with practice and get so much better at it. So you can really tell the years of work that have been put into their voices, because they just sound so much better now, yet still have the same tone. It's really weird. All right, this one is for Yuki. I know Yuki used to whisper a lot in the original. Like, you can never hear him. And now in the reboot, you can clearly hear him. It's incredible.
The fact of the matter is, I just wasn't strong enough, or I could have left. I could have lived in the woods by myself in a tent. Take me in the Somas. I thought I could.
Man, oh man, like I knew for Yuki's, I was just gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's so much better, because his voice wasn't really good in the original. I'm sorry, it wasn't.
Good at this sort of thing.
There was so little emotion behind it, and he spoke so softly. Yuki's voice in the original is the one voice that always got on my nerves, because I could never hear him. Whenever he would come up, I would have to turn up my volume full blast because I could not hear him. He just talked so softly. And I think with Yuki, he is a character who is naturally very soft-spoken, but at the same time, we have to be able to hear him. So I think the original dub overdid it with how soft-spoken they wanted Yuki to be. We still need to be able to hear him. And in the reboot, I still feel like he does have that soft-spoken quality to his voice, or at least he used to, because as Yuki's character grows, he starts to become more assertive and confident. Therefore, his voice starts to become more confident sounding as well. So I'm talking about in season 1 mainly. His voice was still soft. But you were able to distinctly understand what he was saying at the same time. I can't say the same for the dub. So I really appreciate how they have made his voice more clear in the reboot, but we're still able to understand what he's saying. This next one is for Shigure, and one thing I do remember in the original is Shigure sounded a lot more higher pitched in the original, but his voice sounds deeper in the reboot, so I don't know, we'll have to look at the comparison and see.
I suddenly had this feeling.
I think I'm right.
Was here in need of a rescue. Call it a writer's intuition, if you will.
My gut, it told me to come, Toru. It's a novel.
Well, it doesn't sound really deeper there.
Aya, Tori, and I grew up together. We were in the same classes through grade school, middle school, and high school. See, there's me, Ayame, and Haru.
There, that sounds like a tad bit deeper. But other than that, it's like the same tone, pretty much almost the same delivery. I do think he got a little better, but everything else with his voice is a little bit the same to me. This one is for Ayame. So let's hear this one. His voice was kind of hard to decipher in the original. That sounds a lot more clearer.
Don't worry about the others. The big boys, I do think they can manage something on their own. You and the others will be fine on their own. They're not helpless children.
Incredibly better. I love it.
Don't worry, Shigure. Let them stay.
He was still like flamboyant in his voice back then, though. I love Ayame. He is ridiculous. I didn't realize the same thing with Yuki kind of was with Ayame. His voice sometimes was hard to understand. It was also kind of soft at some points when he was talking just normally, except for the times when he would be like all extra as he usually is and just ramble on and on loudly. I could understand him then, but what I do remember is that sometimes it was hard to understand him when he would talk just normally. But in the reboot, that's not a problem at all. He speaks with a lot more clarity, which I appreciate, so that's great. Has definitely gotten so much better. This one is for Hattori.
Within the Soma family itself, there are few who know our secret in regard to the Zodiac. It is exceedingly rare that a complete outsider such as yourself should come to learn of it. But that means even within the Soma family, a full
again, so much more clarity.
Zodiac's secret. So perhaps you can see how outrageous it is for a complete stranger like you to know it. After everything I've told you, you're still causing trouble, aren't you?
What have I told you about making a nuisance of yourself, Ayame?
But
Yuki, weren't you and
in some
Kyo planning to
cases,
take
still a
Toru
little
for
bit the
walk
same.
around the lake today?
Yuki, Kyo, you should be going, didn't you?
Those two
Plans to
sounded
take a
really
look
different,
down to the
though.
lake today?
So in some cases, I think he does sound the same, but other cases he sounds different, but overall has improved so much. It's the same thing, the clarity thing. I feel like sometimes it was hard to understand him in the original, but that's not an issue in the dub. Again, so much more emotion behind his voice, so definitely has improved. This one is Haru. Let's
By the
see.
way, what I just did was very dangerous. And if that had been anyone other than Kyo,
He
they'd
sounds
probably been
so
hurt
young
pretty bad,
there.
So don't try this at home.
That was a very dangerous
Oh
prank.
my god, that
My
is so
skull is as
different.
thick as Kyo's here. Never ever try this at
I
home.
didn't realize how different he
Pathetic early
sounded.
whining.
You're not a man. You're a little kitty cat who's too scared to fight. Know what? You can go to hell. I'm not interested in your petty
Oh my
excuses.
god,
Now get up.
this is
It's
so
time for you to
weird.
prove that you're a real man, kitty
I'm
cat.
like shook.
Fight me and die.
No.
Yes.
Wow, I'm actually, like, I did not expect them to sound so different. They don't even sound like the same person. With the rest of the comparisons that we've watched, they all have the same tone, but yet have clearly improved so much. With Haru, I feel like his voice just sounds completely different. Like, I don't even hear the same tone. It sounds so weird. They sound like two separate people entirely. But that's not a bad thing. I think in the original, he is another case where there wasn't enough, like, oomph and emotion behind his voice, but there really is a lot of that in the reboot, and his voice sounds different, but different in a way that it sounds so much better than it was in the original. I like the tone of his voice as Haru a lot better in the reboot, so that's incredible. I never even realized they sounded so different to each other. I'm pretty left kind of speechless right now. This one is Ritsu.
I don't even have the courage to jump, and yet I don't even have the courage to.
That sounded exactly the
When I
same.
was young, I found that dressing like a girl made me feel more comfortable somehow. Safe. Something about them makes me feel secure. In the beginning, I just wanted to try them on to see what they'd be like.
I'm sorry. I apologize to the world.
That's so crazy.
I apologize. Not just to you, but
Honestly, they sound pretty similar.
humanity. I'm sorry.
That sounded really similar. Like, I hardly can tell any differences. But I think Ritsu's voice was pretty good in the first place, so not a lot needed to be changed. His chaotic voice was just really iconic in the original, so I'm glad that same energy was kept in the reboot, so I have no problem with that at all. I love that. This one is going to be super interesting to hear because this is Kisa, and her voice actor was, I think, about 12 years old when she had first voiced Kisa in the original, but she came back to voice her in the reboot as an adult. And I've noticed in the reboot, she still kind of sounds the same as she does in the original, which is incredible because her voice has hardly changed. But maybe this comparison might disprove that. We'll just have to see. So that's why this is going to be pretty interesting. So let's hear it.
Please, you have to.
Oh,
get
she
it
was
back.
11.
Don't cause any more problems for Sissy.
I said around
It's not
12.
nice. So it's true, but stealing is wrong. You
It's
have to
very,
get back what you took
very
from
different
Mom.
right there. But it still has the same
I'm
tone.
sorry, Hero,
a little bit.
but next time we'll watch the video together. Okay? I'm sorry. I didn't know. We'll watch it together. Next time.
Yeah, her
Okay,
voice has grown a
well,
lot in the
I
reboot.
don't understand.
Understandably so, because she
Then
was
why
so
did you wanna
young.
come here? Okay, but then why do you always want to come over here?
Yeah, hers is just a very interesting case because I can still kind of tell that they're the same voice, but obviously they are going to sound different at the same time because she was just a kid when she voiced her in the original. So your voice is going to develop as you grow into an adult. Even if you're a girl, it's going to develop. So that totally makes sense. I just think it's so cool how she returned for the reboot when she was so young when she voiced her in the original. And her voice has definitely improved from when she was a little girl, as I would think it would after you've had that much practice and now that you're an adult. Not that kid voice actors are bad. I feel like that's what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Obviously, after you have had what she was 11 there, and she's 29 when she voices her in the reboot. So that's almost 20 years. Like I already said, it's been almost 20 years since the original dub. So it would make sense for her to have her voice change that much. So very cool. This one's another case where they sound the same, but he has a lot more emotion behind his voice. This one is Kazuma.
Looking at his face, I saw something there I didn't expect to see. I think this girl could open his heart and accept him. But today, when I saw how he looks at her, I thought perhaps she's the one who can open his heart.
Kyo, we will discover now whether
This
your
sounds
life
slightly
was
the
over before it began.
same.
Let's see if your life truly is
I can
already
totally tell
over.
it's like the same though.
Changed.
This one's another case where they sound the same. He has a lot more emotion behind his voice. That just proves how much it's grown. That's just another one of those. This one is for Motoko. Let's see.
Toru Honda is a witch. Toru Honda is a witch!
Okay, I gotta stop right there because that comparison was like night and day. It is so much better in the reboot. That was funny.
We love him. Can't you understand how much it hurts us when we see Toru with him
I
all
keep
the time?
forgetting that her hair was brown
Don't
in the
you
original.
see? We love Yuki. And the fact is, Toru Honda's inconsiderate actions and careless cruelty cut us to the core. Stop.
A lot better. She has a lot more clarity, a lot more emotion behind her voice. I actually think the tone of her voice has changed just a bit. I love the tone of it so much better in the reboot. Like every time I hear her voice, even when she's screaming and being a brat, I just think she has such a nice voice in the way she voices Motoko. If she was voicing a way sweeter character, a character that was not a brat, I think I would love her voice even more because she just has that sweet tone to it that I really love. But it's hard to get those vibes with Motoko, but I can still hear it in her voice. Yes, definitely has gotten better. For Mitsuru,
You not missing your deadlines being a responsible adult. Why did you finish your pages? Adult? In what world does it mean you can't meet his deadlines?
I actually did not know the voice actor for her return for the reboot.
No matter how much I beg
I don't remember hearing that.
Your fingers start moving them right.
They sound
Why
pretty
aren't you
similar
writing?
though.
There's no time. Don't you understand?
Another character that's just always yelling. I mean, no wonder her and Ritsu like each other. Pretty much the same. I can hardly hear any differences. So those two, I would say, pretty similar. Makoto, another character who's always yelling. Oh, it's a lot better.
I will not give out privileged information simply because you wanted to fulfill your own personal agenda.
Why on earth would I tell you when your reasons for
It
asking
sounds a little.
are so obviously
I can
personal?
tell the difference a lot in that one.
And outrageous. And even if your teachers allow it, I will not. For I am this school's student council president, Makoto Takai. The teachers may overlook this travesty, but I will not. That is my duty. For I am Makoto Takai, your trusted student council president.
I love how in the original he calls himself Motoko Kai, and in the reboot he says Motoko Takai because the original got a lot of the name pronunciations wrong, but they got them right in the reboot. So it just showed another wrong name pronunciation right there, like back to back. A compilation video you should make is the differences in name pronunciations because there is a lot of them, like them saying it. I don't know. That might be interesting to watch as well. Alright, so my camera just died and erased the rest of my reaction to this video, so there's that, just out the drain. I feel like this camera malfunctions well every single video. Like the quality has gotten a lot better on my videos, but the camera malfunctioning is driving me crazy. So this isn't going to be a true reaction for the rest of the video, but I'm just warning you. If I don't seem as surprised anymore, it's because I already watched it, but I'll still talk about it. Let's continue.
Yes, my child was born under the sign of the monkey. My child is a member of the
She sounds pretty much the same. Again, the same, just has improved a little more. So, let's move on. This one was interesting because she has a German accent in the reboot, so of course she's going to sound different because she didn't in the original. So, yeah, that one is a unique circumstance because they gave her a German accent in the reboot, so of course she's going to sound different because she didn't have an accent in the original. So it's not really much of a case as she sounds different because she's improved. She sounds different because she has an accent in the new one when she didn't in the original, which doesn't mean that her voice hasn't improved. I'm pretty sure it still has because it's been 20 years. The main difference is because of the accent. So I like that they gave her an accent in the new one because realistically she's supposed to have an accent because she's full on German. So that makes total sense. It didn't make any sense that she didn't have a German accent in the original. So I love that little addition. This one is for Kyo's mom.
Say something to you again.
Which, see, now I can't even remember what I thought, so maybe this is good.
I still love you more than anything. Did Akito say something to you?
Yeah, she sounds really different.
Stop.
Like almost to the point where they don't sound like they're the same person.
You're so adorable, I have to keep you all to myself.
So, a lot better. Yeah, she sounds really different. Like, not as different as Haru sounded, where that was, like, completely shocking, but very much different in a way that it's a good different, again, because it means she has improved so much, and I can clearly hear that. Well, that was so interesting, just like I thought it was going to be. In a lot of these cases, the voice actors have the same tone as they did in the original, but it's the delivery of their lines that have gotten so much better and the amount of emotion that they put behind everything they say now. Because I do feel like in the original, a lot of their voices sounded really stagnant, which just goes to show how new they were to voice acting. So, of course, they're not going to be at the same level as they are 20 years later after years of practice. They're going to sound different. I really appreciate how much they've grown and how much they have clearly come to understand these characters by the emotion that they put behind their voices, because that is really evidently shown in the reboot. Well, I am so glad that this video was made because I had wanted to talk about this topic, comparing both dubs to both adaptations, but I knew I'd have to like gather all the comparisons, so this video just made it so much easier because it was already made and now I could like talk about the comparisons. So thank you so much for making this video because it was so nice to hear back-to-back comparisons of the OG dub compared to the reboot. It was so fascinating to hear some of these voices I didn't even realize sounded so different in the reboot until hearing them back to back. Let me know in the comments anything you want to add on to what I said. If you want to comment on the comparison video. Also, do check out 𝑤𝑖𝑙𝑙's videos. She does a lot of Fruits Basket related videos, so you should check those out. I'll have a link to her channel in the description box if you want to go check out her channel. You definitely should. And I will be back next Friday with another Fruba Friday video. I don't know what video that's going to be yet, but it will be coming out on Friday nonetheless, so do look out for that if you are interested in seeing it. And if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more anime-related videos and anime reactions. And also be sure to click that bell icon beside the subscribe button if you want to be notified for whenever I post a new video. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!